Yeah.
Is it a conspiracy? I mean, you keep saying the bankers and etc. and the powerful people. And is it truly a conspiracy, or is it just a joint interest that they all have?
I think it's more that once you give the money power over to bankers, banks are corporations, and if they have to, by definition, compete with each other. So if J.P. Morgan finds some crooked way to squeeze a few extra dollars into their bottom line, Citibank has to exceed them, and so it's a race. It's a race to economic hell.
So it's not a conspiracy. I mean, it's not that they, I don't know, 100, 200, or 500, or 10 years ago conspired together like, I don't know, 10 or 100 people said, okay, this is how we can.
Well, I think they conspired together at the Jekyll Island meeting. That's because that came in the wake of the 1907 crash, and people were much more aware of what was going on then than they are today. And so they knew that there was going to be reform legislation. So the bankers met in secret down in Jekyll Island to try to, all they were going to do is write the reform legislation themselves, and eventually the people bought it. And so that's probably what will happen with the next crash. There will be immediately some legislation put forward, and it's up to you guys to figure out if you can't understand it real easily, then you should reject it. It should be simple enough so that each of you can understand it. Anybody else? Yeah, over there.
First, you said governments can print their own money for their needs. I mean, to fund themselves, but governments tend to sometimes overrate. How do you control the inflation and taxation?
Yeah, it's a good question. The question is governments will always spend too much money, and so how do you control that? And you're going to have to control it by basically a new arm of government called a monetary control board or a monetary authority, and it's up to each individual nation how to handle that. If it were up to me, I'd just say pick 100 people out of the phone book at random and let them only serve a one-year term, because it's not that hard. All you have to do is just take an honest look at inflation. Is there anybody in this room that wouldn't want to serve on that, honestly, for the benefit of all of Israel? No, probably every one of you would volunteer to do that. And that would be the reaction of anybody in Israel, I would dare to say. So why not just pick them at random?
Because it's easier to lie. Being true.
Well, someone else in our group, Ari, we went to the Knesset about 4 days ago, and we met with 3 parliamentarians, and we saw another one in the hallway, and we proposed a very interesting solution that would bring this about gradually. Right now, I think Israel, the state, produces about only 7% of the money, and the banks produce about 93%. In the U.S., it's even worse. The U.S. only produces 3% of its own money. That's just the coins in your pocket. All the paper money, all the electronic money is created by the banks. That's another thing about this gold solution. We're arguing about nothing. In the United States, we're arguing about 3% of the money supply. The whole 97% is made by the banks anyway. It doesn't matter. That's why gold money didn't affect during the Great Depression, because the vast majority of the money supply is credit issued by the banks. So that's really what you have to get after. Back there.
Just a second, just that we have a plan made by SAF, who's a member of our team. Very detailed plan.
I forgot the answer. Just let me finish. I forgot the answer. And that is so. In Germany right now, you only create 7% of your money supply. Why not put through a law in the Knesset this year that says, okay, let's raise it by 10%. Let's just make it 17% state money and only 83% bank money this year. And then see how it works. If it works good, well, let's raise it a little. Let's make it 25% the next year and 75%, and gradually raise it. There won't be a shock to the market, and it's a brilliant. And that's always the way I theoretically thought about it. But when Ari explained it, he just explained it in such a beautiful way. I just locked right onto it. That's the way you should do it. Back behind you, yeah.
I would like to hear your opinion about local money, community money.
Well, I already spoke. He's asking about competitive currencies. I've already spoken to that. I think it's a great idea. It's a way to bring more people into the movement.
In some way, the government money or the central bank money?
No, it should be done within communities. It should be very diverse, very spread out.
The second question is the connection between energy to the US dollar. How do you see the connection between the petrodollar? Do you deal with this issue? Energy prices, energy connection of the dollar.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to answer that. There's some things I just... I'm not an economist, I'm just a reporter.
אתם שומעים את השאלה? So,
can you please answer from the mic?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, he asked about a connection between the dollar and petrodollars, and that's above my experience. I just don't know how to answer. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Your experience, how do you think the bankers will respond? I think they will
love it.
But what do you think will be when they found out all this, what we're going to do?
Yeah, her question is, how do you think the bankers will respond? And I won't say what else she said, but I've always felt very safe. Nobody's ever bothered me, and typically these people are very powerful, and they just consider us as ants, and they don't really care, and so. It just seems like this is going to sneak up on them, and that tipping point I talk about is going to hit them completely unaware, and it's going to happen throughout the world. And for example, I think the two nations that are the most far advanced, did I say this already, were Israel and Iceland. They're I think the most likely to go first, and once one nation goes, I mean, you're going to see just other nations go very quickly, and they won't be able to stop it. They can't possibly respond that quickly. They'll spend a lot of money trying to muddy the waters even further. They'll say, oh no, you need to go to gold. Oh, please go to gold. That's the answer. But, you know, by then we will have already understood the answer.
Why Israel?
Why Israel?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Bill, if I may, I was guarded by the police for 6 months, and my little girls went to school in police cars because there are pressures. If you want to to know the reality.
Well, that's fine. You know, if they killed me, that would be great for monetary reform.
They're not going to kill. This is not a problem, but I think that the majority of the people that are here agree with the what, and what we have to now to figure out is the how we are going to do it. I think that you are a bit naive if you think that the meeting member of the Knesset will help. I happen to be the nephew of the former Prime Minister of Israel, and I can say in this form that even Prime Ministers are afraid of them. I got in 2005, Bibi Netanyahu offered me to be his spokesman and then to replace Naftali Bennett, and I refused because when I told him what I need from you is to promise me that we will do 1, 2, and 3, and he said me this. That's what was his answer. You want me to suicide? We are not going to do it. We can't do it. He was then the Minister of Treasury.
Well,
so it's not going through the Knesset. It's not going through the politicians.
We can discuss it.
And we have to discuss how. I think I figured out how.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that later. Yeah, yes, sir.
Since most of us believe that the economy is about to crash, as you mentioned, what do you think this will? How do you think this will affect the savings that we have in the bank? The fortunate one of us.
They will disappear.
And what do you think we can do to protect this?
He's asking, since we believe that it's going to crash, what can the average person do to protect himself? And I'm sorry, I'm not a financial advisor. I get asked that question all the time, and I just have to say, I don't know. You're on your own. Right there.
You're describing a world that there is enough of everything for everybody. That we can create money, and with the money we have created we can supply enough health and enough food and enough water and enough of everything and enough energy for everybody. But knowing the world, you know that there is not enough for everybody.
Why not?
Because there is actually
limited resources.
There is not enough iron, and there is sometimes not enough water, and so on. And nobody can say how much is enough. That is a different problem. How do you deal with that? How do you create enough money when there is not enough resources?
Who said there's not enough?
And how can you say how much is enough money to get the resources?
I don't know the answer to that, but I know you can create enough money. Yeah.
What happened in the time of war? We were in Israel, and sometimes we can borrow. We have a problem.
Why? Why would you want to borrow when you can create? That's insanity.
Because inflation is a tool. It's a economic tool.
We need to somehow borrow from other countries.
How can you take back?
Wait, what is $3?
I don't know the answer to that. We'd have to think that through.
What was the question?
The question was, since Israel's always at war and we have to buy missile parts from the United States, we would have to borrow money.
We can just be in peace.
Well, if the bankers wanted, there is peace. Long time ago.
Well, yeah, but we have to, we have to respond.
I'd like to give an answer, kind of an answer. משרד הביטחון הלווה $200 מיליון מבנק הפועלים בשביל לקנות מטוסי אימון. רוב הכסף, רוב החוב לא נדרש. כשהוא יידרש, נעשה בו שימוש. חוב הוא לא דבר רע בהכרח תמיד, אוקיי? אבל צריך לעשות בו שימוש מושכל. במקום שהוא צריך, כמו כל דבר, כמו כל כלי, כשאתה מגזים בשימוש, רוב הכסף הופך להיות חוב, אז השיטה כולה כבר קורסת. כי אי אפשר, מתמטית זה לא אוחז כבר.
Yeah.
Why do you think Israel is close to the tipping point?
Why do I think Israel is...
Is close to the tipping point you're saying?
Because I just walked in the door 8 days ago, and right away I could walk into the Knesset and, meet with guys like Braverman. Well, you might think he's crazy, but it's
not an important figure.
It's the best. It's the best I've ever done. No, you are. And you guys have made tremendous.
יאיר, זה דרך ארוכה. It's a long way. It's a long way. Most of the people in the Knesset, they don't know about that information. They don't know the truth. We have to tell that story. Naive is when you are a single one. You're only one.
Braverman knows because he attended.
They make the
That's why I spent so much.
election.
That's why I spent so much time talking about the importance of self-governance. I mean, if you think that we're really too stupid or too ineffective to self-govern,
Government is controlled by the banks too.
Yeah. So you're saying it's too controlled, so there's nothing we can do? I don't accept that answer.
What can you do to those that have all the power?
You inform the people. The people know that the people are fooling them.
That's the very basis of self-governance, and make a noise until you fix it.
For example, in Israel, parties, not the government itself, I mean parties, okay? Sheli Chimovet, Yair Lapid, Bibi, Kula, they all owe money to the banks. Instead of owing money to the banks, they can borrow money from us, from the citizens. If you want to lend money to your party that you support, so they have to pay you back, not the banks.
And there is a mafiosi special way to do it.
This lady right here.
Okay, my question is a bit complex, so try to bear with me. I'm talking about free market of currency. I think the problem of free market is that the currency is not free, meaning me, you, her, everyone here cannot create their own currency. We are all slaves to the one monopoly owned by the state. Now, in a way, we gave the state the power of this monopoly. They all represent our credit. We let the state create credit in our name. I can't now write a note and give it to you and give it as my own credit.
Does the state create credit? The banks create
just
credit.
a minute. The state gave our rights for our credit to the banks because somebody has to write the note. Somebody has to write the note because you're not going to know me. You need some central system, which is the state in that case. So we all gave the state the how we call it, the permission to write the note in our name, and the state gave that permission to the bank. Now, my question is why not bring it back to the free market, saying
there is no free market. That's why.
No,
there is zero free market.
No, the thing is that there are three rules: the rule of the law of the jungle, and the law of free market. I think we are playing with free market in everything else, but we don't have free market of currency. So my question is why basically not free the currency issuing to every person, and then basically there will form different groups that will create this currency in my name. It's not going to be the state, it's going to be different groups.
Well, this is a discussion
and in the minute,
within the complementary currency group.
And they will basically monitor each other in a way just like a free market. If somebody is abusing just like the banks are doing, they're abusing the credit that they give in my name. They're abusing it and making me like I'm working for the credit, not the banks. So no, that's the question. Why not? What about this third option? You're giving only two options. One the banks, and one is it governed by the state. And the third option is that there will be free currency market.
Yes, sir.
Why did you say the...
Three last questions, please.
רגע, הוא לא הסתכל לפה בכלל.
Okay. Three last questions for that area. And I would like to add, Neely, we have to pay taxes to them somehow. We need some common money that we can use to pay to the government for building hospitals and paving roads.
I disagree.
Okay.
I don't think you have to have taxes for revenue generation. Taxes should only be to extinguish money when inflation comes.
Last questions from him.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Stil, for coming here, standing us.
Thank you for Bill. Thank you, Bill, and his wife Elizabeth, for taking the time for such a long journey, so long.
Such a country.
My question is, in case we do succeed to transport the money creation process from the central bank to the government, how can you? Already in today's monetary system, there is a lot of corruption, a lot of interest, personal interests, foreign interests, and how can you just vanish them from the process usages?
The pressure is going to get very intense with the next crash. It's going to get very intense. People are going to finally realize that the solutions that have been offered have not worked, and they're going to be ready to accept new solutions. And that's when you're going to hear a lot about a return to gold money. And you need to be ready with an argument to stand up and say that's not what we need. Historically, this is all about one dichotomy, and that's, do we have state-issued money or do we have bank-issued money? Right now we have bank-issued money. The central bank isn't creating the money. The banks are creating the money.
Commercial banks.
Commercial banks. Right.
Okay, and I have one last question. How can you monitor the economy extension? I mean, the amount of money that goes to the system. How can you decide how much how much money will be transferred?
יש ועדה מוניטרית שמחליטה.
Oh, well, okay, I understand the question. You want to know how much money that you should be created in the public interest.
Yes.
About the same as you've got right now. In the United States, to say whether you want to... Milton Friedman told me, we actually talked before he died, that he wanted to see the quantity of money pegged to the population. So if population rises 1%, the money should rise 1%, so that everybody starts out basically with the same pot. But that's for you to decide. That's not really important.
Inflation is a kind of a tax, because we cannot protect ourselves against the inflation, the rise of prices of all products. But you know, rich people can, and companies can do. They can raise prices, but we just cannot do that. So keeping inflation as low as possible is our interest. חבר'ה, עוד שאלה אחת.
Is there any nation worldwide going the right path from your point of view? Let's say, I don't know, Iceland.
It right now.
No.
No one. So it's just us so smart. The nation do not understand. No one understands it.
Right.
That's the truth.
Right.
But in Iceland there is a committee now working on that right now. A majority part of the parliament support that the next finance minister is aware of that. So
Iceland?
Iceland.
Well, no, we have 3 friends who we just elected to Parliament in Iceland, but that's a long way from getting monetary reform to it. Even at best, it'll be 2 years in Iceland.
2 years is not a long time.
As in? In?
Not tomorrow morning, okay? It's a long way. It's a long way, and I think it was a good starting point to end this question and answer session. So thank you very much, Bill. לפני שתלכו הביתה, אני רוצה להזמין את חבר היקר שלנו עמוס, זה שקפץ עם המיקרופון לעיר לפיד ולשלי וכן הלאה, לתת כמה מילים לגבי התנועה ומה אתם רוצות עוד הערב.
אהלן, מעניינים. בגדול, יש לנו כמה תחומים שבהם אנשים כמוני וכמוכם, אנחנו לא כלכלנים ואנחנו לא אנשים שעורכי דין וכותבים חוקים וכולי, יכולים בעצם לתרום. קודם כל, רק לדוגמה, אני לדוגמה מנהל את הצוות תרבות של התנועה, ותמיד חסר לנו אנשים שמסוגלים לתרגם בעיקר מאנגלית לעברית. אם אתם יודעים שפה אחרת, גם זה נחוץ, יש כל מיני מסמכים חשובים מאוד בעולם בהולנדית ובשפות אחרות, סרטונים ודברים כאלה, תמיד חסר לנו אנשים, יש לנו כרגע צוות מאוד מצומצם. ככל שיהיו יותר אנשים, ככה נוכל בעצם להביא יותר ויותר תכנים יותר מהר לשפה שבעצם רוב האנשים פה במדינה יכולים להבין בצורה יותר טובה. חוץ מזה, כל בן אדם שיש לו יכולת כלשהי, גם אם אתם לא בטוחים איך אנחנו נוכל להשתמש בה, בואו אלינו, תציעו את עצמכם, אתם עשויים להיות מופתעים. אנחנו כמובן מחפשים אנשים שלדוגמה אנחנו מאוד מאוד רוצים לעשות כמה סרטונים קצרים, אנימציה ודברים כאלה, אז מי שיכול לתרום קצת מהזמן שלו, יש לו את היכולת, יש לו את המכשור אם צריך, לא חשוב מה, באמת, תהיו יצירתיים, תאמינו לי, כמעט כל יכולת באמת טובה, נצליח למצוא דרך להשתמש בתנועה.
גם רעיון טוב, זאת אומרת, אם הגענו עד היום לבערך, נניח, 10,000 אנשים בארץ שמבינים, וזה לא מובן מאליו בחצי שנה, כי נניח את המצגות שיש לנו בעמוד הבית של האתר, ראו סדר גודל 10,000 אנשים, ואת הסרטון שעמוס תרגם, את הסרטון של הילדה הקנדית בת 12, מי ראה את הסרטון אגב? אוקיי, הרוב, מי שעדיין לא זה סרטון. באמת, ספיץ' מדהים, הבלוג של ערן כמובן הגיע לכמויות אדירות, אבל אנחנו חושבים עכשיו איך להגיע לרף הבא, איך להיות יצירתי, וזה באמת שאלה פתוחה, כי אין פה תשובה אחת נכונה, אולי איך נגיע ל100,000 איש בעוד חצי שנה, שיודעים על הדבר הזה, ואז אולי קצת נהיה פחות נאיבים לבדנו, איך אנחנו עושים את זה? אז איך אנחנו מגיעים למשל לכל... אני אתן לכם רעיון אחד לדוגמה שעלה ממש בימים האחרונים, למשל לחנך את הסטודנטים לכלכלה. לבנות איזשהו אתר שכל השקרים על הכלכלה רק לסטודנטים לכלכלה. כל הנקודות שאפשר לפגוש גם אנשים שמובילים בכלכלה ובעיתונות, שכל העיתונאים ידעו על זה, שכל הפוליטיקאים ידעו, לפחות שידעו.
זה ביסוס אקדמי, אתה לא יכול להיכנס לאקדמיה עם נפנות ידיים. כדי לדבר מול סטודנטים, צריך לבוא עם...
אני פותח את זה לדיון, יש לנו פייסבוק, אנחנו נעשה מפגש אולי חשיבה, מי שרוצה לבוא ולתרום ולהציע הצעות ולענות לנו. בואו נעשה את זה, זה שלכם. אותו דבר כמו שלכם.
הבנקים הם היד של מעלת ההריסה.
דבר נוסף שהוא אף לא נעים לדבר עליו.
עושים אותו מהגיל התוך
כל הפעילות של התנועה, לא משנה מה, נעשית בהתנדבות. כל בן אדם שעושה משהו בתנועה משקיע גם את הזמן שלו, בדרך כלל גם את הכסף שלו, כי גם דלק להגיע למקום למקום, וזמן שווה כסף, יכול להיות וכו'. להביא את פיל עלה לנו המון כסף. יהיה לנו באתר, אנחנו נכתוב את כל הפירוט בדיוק של כל ההוצאות של הביקור הזה כשמסתיים, אבל הכסף הזה יצא ישירות מהכיסים של הפעילים בתנועה. ולכן, מבקש, מי שיכול, מי שמרגיש שהוא רוצה, כמובן בלי שום לחץ, אנחנו נעצום עיניים, אנחנו לא מבקש מאף אחד בצורה חד משמעית או משהו כזה, חס וחלילה, אבל מי שרוצה יכול לגשת אלינו בסוף, להוסיף עוד כמה שקלים. מי שכבר נתן יותר מ-30, תודה רבה לכם מעומק הלב. כל מי שנתן 30 גם, תודה רבה מעומק הלב. אף אחד לא יכולים לעשות את זה.
אפשר גם לעשות את זה דרך הקישור של